YourWrongAboutMusicals. I'm Esme.
And I'm Nell.
And today we're going to be doing a very special episode. We've not spent probably about a year almost talking about this musical in passing. Today's the day we're finally talking about it. It is, of course. Now, do you want to say it?
Tuck Everlasting.
Yay!
You're both so tired.
It's currently 11 a.m.
This is the earliest we've ever recorded.
Earliest we have ever recorded. Well,
we went out.
Yeah. What went down yesterday?
We went out yesterday.
Yeah, we did.
First of all, I want to complain.
Are you going to complain about the train lines?
All of the trains were cancelled.
Yep, they were.
So it took me like 2 hours to get to London. And then I got there eventually.
Yep. It was very proud of you for making it.
It was stressful, I'll tell you that.
I imagine.
It's boiling hot in London. I'm not even joking. Let's make them vouchers. I drank like 50 drinks.
There was a solid point
buying drinks
in the day where Nell just had like 2 drinks in either hand.
I bought a Powerade and I drank it in about 5 minutes.
Yeah, literally, like, I looked over
chugging
it. And you, like, completely drained this Powerade.
I was so thirsty all day. But we do that stupid Today Ticks hunt. Let's
not say it's stupid, because, you know, we did win something.
We found one.
Crazy experience.
We met some very nice people.
We did! We met some very
also
nice
doing hunt.
People doing the hunt, who were equally as confused as us, of like, what the hell was going on, really.
I just want to say, I truly believe the Mary Poppins one was rigged.
Oh my god, that was rigged.
We met most of the people around the Mary Poppins statue.
Because we were like, easy one.
I was like, oh, that's so easy, the Mary Poppins statue. People were like digging around in the bushes, like people laps around the area.
Yeah.
He was about to climb on the Mary Poppins statue. We finally give up. Yeah. And we leave, and then suddenly we see, oh, it's been found, and it was like in her bag. Are you kidding?
It fucking wasn't.
Well, that's what I'm saying, it's stupid. The one in Leicester Square Station.
Yeah.
Easy. We love that one.
Oh my god. Like, it was so easy. I did kind of run there.
Yeah.
At that point, I was like, we've invested too much time in this goddamn scavenger hunt not to win one.
We walked around the Hadestown Theatre multiple times to try and find one there. Problem was, it was as the matinee was going in.
Yeah.
So we couldn't find it.
I was about to see whether or not anyone actually officially found.
I did just go and look.
The one in Leicester Square. Leicester Square.
I don't know if anyone did.
I don't know if anyone did.
Well, let me see what her last post about it is.
Because, I don't know, placing a random slip of paper in a very high tourist area is probably the smartest idea.
Yeah, like, I genuinely think the 2 that weren't found, or I don't think they were found.
The one at Hadestown was found.
I'm actually not sure if it was, though.
I thought, someone said that it was found because they asked a security guard.
But then when you went in and asked someone at the box office, they had no idea it was happening.
I reckon because like, Ashley Hufford, who was the woman who was, like, doing it, she was going into the Hadestown matinee, and so probably put it somewhere, and the security guard was like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
That's my only thought process. I could be wrong, and that one could still be out there, hanging around the Lyric Theatre.
Go find it if it is.
I'm alright, actually. I've spent enough time in and around the Lyric.
But yeah, then we continued to walk around London. We was trying to prep like half an hour so I could charge my phone.
Great prep,
and then we saw Hadestown. From the stalls.
The amount of... Oh, guys, I know I say this all the time, but when that fucking set gives out and we go to Hadestown...
It was so good. I spent like half the time staring at the balcony because we couldn't see it last time.
Yeah, and we learned some very interesting things about the dynamics of Hadestown. Nothing that we didn't already know, but it was just like our conspiracy theories were confirmed because they were always meant to be
Yeah.
implied. If that makes sense.
It was so good.
Oh,
I love Hadestown.
I don't know whether or not it was the way that it was staged or what. We were just having this conversation. Why the fuck does it look like? Why the fuck did I think Office isn't going to turn around? He's done it.
I know. As I was genuinely like, he's not going to turn around
He's
this
not going to turn
time.
around. He's not going to turn around.
He's made it.
And then I audibly went, put my hand over
Yeah.
my mouth. He turned every goddamn time that motherfucker turns around. I am shocked, and you'd think I wouldn't be shocked right now anymore, but I am. What else was I gonna say? Oh, we saw what? We saw Ellie Daniels' debut as Hermes. She was great. I really loved
It
her
was
as Hermes.
really good.
We were saying that everyone in their performances seemed a lot more comfortable.
I don't know if that's just. Well, the thing that I said was, I don't know if that's just because I know the material more.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm not so focused on figuring out what the story is. Although it's
Yeah.
because last time I saw it was quite early in the run.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good.
I really enjoyed Grace Hodgett Young as Eurydice this time around. I really loved. I thought
Yeah.
she was an outstanding Eurydice.
Yeah.
Oh my god! One of my favorite things I noticed this time around was that goddamned like steam that thing with the steam coming out of it.
Oh, yeah, in Papers.
It was in Papers, and then I think it was also in when Eurydice first came to Hadestown.
Probably, yeah.
Never noticed that, and I thought, oh, that's sick! It's like a train.
Yeah, a lot of it was just us noticing like small little things, being like, "Oh my god!"
That's so cool.
I liked the lyric change in
Yes, we were talking
Road
about this at the
to
end.
Hell.
Mm.
In Road to Hell, the opening, not the reprise.
No.
Hermes said about the chorus.
Yeah.
You can tip your hats or your wallet.
Brothers. No, it's not brothers and sisters.
No, or your purses or your pearls.
Yes.
For the hardest working chorus in the gods. Oh my. And the lyrics on the recording are, you can tip your hats or your wallets. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I thought it was a fun change.
I really, like, objectively, I think Purses and Pearls is just a better lyric.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think I don't know what the motivation behind that small lyric change was. I don't know whether it just sounds better being Purses and Pearls or if it's...
We did have a deep chat about why they might have changed it. I just do think it's also a nice change. It's fun.
It was like, so it's like two very basic ones that it could be. One is that Purses and Pearls is just a bit more gender neutral.
Yeah.
Or, this was my conspiracy theory, I know far too much about this fucking musical moment of one of the first ever lyrics written for Hadestown was, "I'm coming, wait for me and my garter and my pearls." And so having one of the opening lines be Purses and Pearls in the opening song is nice. Nice homage.
Yeah. I also think it might be like, I guess just kind of to set it more in that like 1930s era. Because you wouldn't say like Purses and Pearls as much anymore.
No.
But it does feel pretty 1930s. Or 40s, around then.
Again, Nell could talk for hours and has talked for hours about what time period all of the inspirations from Hadestown are from. Anyway, so that was Tuck Day, crazy day. What are we going to do with the theatre voucher? We have plans, big plans for it.
Big plans.
That you guys will probably be hearing about. Yeah, Your Lie in April to close early on the West End. Now, how do I want to talk about this?
I think objectively, it was doing a good thing.
Yes. Yeah.
I just think.
Yeah.
I think it was the thing you said yesterday to me, which is that I'm basically the ideal target audience for this show.
Yeah.
I've watched Your Lie in April, the anime. I love Your Lie in April, the anime.
You have a deep connection to the source material.
Yeah. I've read at least half of the manga. I don't ever remember if I finished it because I hate reading. That's a joke.
Also, Nell is working on an absolute banger of a book.
Oh yeah.
She started explaining it to me in the.
I started pitching it in the interval, and as they said, Nell, shut up and wait until we're a block away to even mention this.
And then when she was a block away, I did let her talk about it for like a solid 15-20 minutes. And
Yeah,
let me
for like
just
half
say,
our walk home.
yeah. And let me just say, I am so intrigued to read this.
When we do the drunk episode, best believe you're getting a snippet.
You're getting a snippet, but things will be changed.
Yeah.
Anyway.
We're gonna have to omit some stuff.
But we know what they're meant to be.
Yeah. Anyways,
You're alone, April.
I love, like, Your Lie in April. The concept as a story.
Yeah.
I love musicals.
Yeah.
And yet, I have never had any desire to go and see the musical. And it's the same with, like, my sisters, who are both the same. Less that they like musicals, they don't as much, but they like Your Lie in April. So you'd think they'd go and, like, see it.
Yeah.
I do think it's kind of strange because even stuff like the Ghibli stage adaptations
Yeah.
have an audience, and I don't see how there's much difference between the two things.
I think like Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro are a bit more recognizable to the average person than Your Lie in April.
Yeah.
I like what they're doing for casting and representation and all of that. I think that's obviously a net good any day of the week. However, did it need to come to the West End?
Mm.
And that's always kind of been my thought around Your Lie in April. Like, there was the concert, and I was like, okay, cute concert. And then they announced it was going to the West End, and I was like, okay, sure, I guess. And I know some people really do love it.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not going to sit here and say it's bad because I've not seen it.
Yeah.
I
think, like, it's the thing, objectively and obviously, it's a bad thing that it's closing.
Yeah.
Like, I wish it would stay open.
Yeah.
But as well, there is a part of me that now it's closing, like, oh, maybe I should go see it.
Yeah. I think they might have overestimated the need for a Your Lie in April musical by Frank Wildhorn.
Yeah.
Obviously very sad that people are out of jobs early. That's always going to be sad.
Yeah.
Jamie Lloyd has had a very big week. He has been announced to 2 different projects. One of them being a Shakespeare season at Drury Lane. It's got like Tom Hiddleston in it, and they're doing Much Ado About Nothing, and everyone's doing the classic Jamie Lloyd joke of I can't wait for a stripped down black and white Much Ado About Nothing. And let me just say, if Jamie Lloyd's even as good as the director as I think he is, then I hope it's not that for Much Ado About Nothing. It needs a bit of fun, Much Ado About Nothing. I would go see it. And then Keanu Reeves and Alex Winter to do Waiting for Godot on Broadway, which is a play. So yeah,
I think
big
that would
week.
be fun.
Yeah, just a big old week for Jamie Lloyd. Now, this is... I'm going to try hard not to go around and say, I told you so for this one, because I'm sad that I'm right about this. I would really have liked to sounded insane when I said this a couple of weeks ago. Six the Musical have to put out a statement on fan culture and stop stage dooring on the tour. We've been nearing this point for a while.
Yeah.
It doesn't surprise me that Six have had to stop stage dooring at one of their productions. It's sad that they have had to. However, unfortunately, it doesn't surprise me.
I think, especially with Six,
yeah,
the fandom culture has just been getting progressively worse. And usually you wouldn't see that because, obviously, as fandoms go on, the fans tend to get, like, older.
And they tend to chill out a lot more.
Yeah. But with Six, for some reason, it's basically either stayed the same or gotten worse.
I think, as someone who was in the early days of the Six fandom, it's gotten worse.
Yeah.
10,000%. I'm sad that, like, people who want to go to the stage door and have, like, a normal experience aren't able to do that now.
Yeah, because, like, stage dooring is fun.
Yeah. And obviously, like, I'm sad for the actors who have obviously had to be at the bearing end of some stuff that they never should have, if this has had to be
Yeah.
banned. Yeah, obviously, I wonder if more shows are going to start to do this.
I think they might.
Because Heather's also had to put out a statement recently being like, hey, be nice at the stage door. And you know it's bad when two of the biggest stage door shows, if that makes sense,
Yeah.
are putting out statements being like, fix up your behaviour.
Yeah.
Abby Budden and what's his name, like Lewis something, both did a quite funny skit. People at the
Yeah, I sent it to you.
And I've been like thinking about it for like a solid 24 hours. Just like, oh, I didn't sit my maths GCSE because I had to come see you on your tour stop in Crawley.
Yeah.
I've seen that. No.
What was one of them that was like, oh, were you in the W.H. Smith and Victoria Station last night? Yeah, we followed you home. I like your cat. It's so ridiculous. There's a part of me that's just like, yeah, this could happen.
I was like,
this might be real.
No, I was like, I feel this has definitely happened.
Yeah.
Like, maybe, sure, people haven't followed them all the way to the house, but I feel people have followed people to stations.
Oh, yeah.
And that's weird. Don't you also want to get your ass home?
I'm like, after a show, I'm on a one-track mind of I need to be home right now. I want to be in bed.
The second I leave that theatre, I'm like, bed fucking time. I didn't go straight to my bed yesterday, and so that's why I had to buy a pack of gummy bears.
Yeah.
You know?
It was literally just, I need to, like, sit down and think about what I've just seen.
I need to, like, stare at a blank wall for a second and just, like, recess. But yeah. Anyway! Moving on to something fun. Big news. Lin-Manuel Miranda and Eliza Davis, their musical, The Warriors, to release a concept album in October. Yay! Lin's back doing musical theatre. Guys, we're so back. Lin is doing musical theatre again.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I will be listening to that album the second it comes out. There are some things that will never change about me. It's in my blood. It's in my bones. I hope it's good. No, this is big. It reminds me of something you said last night.
Oh.
About ballroom cats.
Okay.
Me and Nell are always at our funniest like 10 minutes before a show starts.
I made some great jokes yesterday.
I noted this one down because you're like, I'm gonna forget it.
I remember what it is the second you said it. It was that good of a joke.
We are, of course, talking about Ballroom Cats extending. We're very excited. Please bring it to the West End. We have some ideas.
I said, if Ballroom Cats comes to London, they can keep the bit from the original production of Cats about the winner getting to go to heaven.
You don't know, Heaven's a very famous gay club in London.
Andrew, I know you're gonna love this joke. I've read your memoir.
Yeah, has Angela ever been to heaven?
I don't think so.
Let's set Ballroom Cats in heaven. Like have the
no.
Take place
has to be a like mythical place.
Oh, okay. I just want to get Angelo Trevor at heaven.
I feel like he'd go pretty willingly.
Yeah. I think he's been there though, actually.
Based on what?
Vibes. He's always in the weirdest places. Yeah. Alan Menken and Glenn Slater doing a Netflix animation movie with Rachel Zegler. Very exciting. Good times. Yeah.
It's apparently a musical as well, shockingly.
Well, with those list of names, I'd be deeply, deeply surprised if it wasn't a musical.
Yeah. Apparently Netflix is like refusing to market it as a musical.
Netflix, man. Come on. It's a kids' animated movie. You can make so much money from singing shit. Michael Cerveris to play Jerry Falwell in Tammy Faye. Jerry Falwell's a piece of shit. I think Michael Cerverus will do a good job playing him. And that's not me being mean to Michael Cerverus. I'm sure he's a lovely guy. However, I have a feeling he can play a great Jerry Falwell. Like, I know it deeply in myself. Anyway, Queen of Versailles is not coming to Broadway until 2025-26 Broadway season. Now, I saw Brian the BA on TikTok say that this is because, like, there's just no Broadway houses.
Yeah.
Which makes sense because despite what even, like, me was saying about, like, there's gonna be a mass closure of shows, we really haven't seen that yet this season. For the last season. Like, to have this many shows making as much money as some of them are making is really impressive, actually. And obviously a lot of, like, the winter shows didn't fare as well, of, like, Harmony and House Dance in Ohio, but I'm glad that most of the shows that opened in the spring are kind of sticking it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Peter Dinklage, Lupita Nyong'o, go, and Sandra Oh to do 12th Night at the Delacorte Theatre. Apparently it's free. What the hell?
It's like Shakespeare in the Park.
Yeah. I thought they probably charged for it, especially with that
Isn't it?
stacked of a cast. Yeah, it is Shakespeare in the Park.
I know.
Yeah, I was like, surely this costs a shit ton to go to. No, it's free. Anywho. Nell, are you ready?
I think so.
As ready as you'll ever be.
Yeah.
So, Tuck Everlasting is a musical with a book by Claudia Scheer and Tim Ferrandel, and music by Chris Miller and lyrics by Nathan Tyson. It is based on a book by Natalie Babbitt, which was originally published in 1975 and has since become a worldwide hit and a classic.
Amen.
So, some background on the book. Natalie Babbitt's youngest child, Lucy, had a scary time wondering what it would be like to die. I had a long before that made up my mind about what was going to happen when I died, but I wrote Tuck to help Lucy understand what life is about. We all get born and we all have to die. It's a subject I never thought I'd write about, but there I was. I wanted to make sure Lucy would not grow up to be scared. From that point on, Babbitt's notes, the elements of the book came from personal experience. Everything in here comes from actually living it. This includes the idyllic setting. Babbitt recalled vivid memories spent on a time in a little house on a pond in upstate New York, where the family used to use as a weekend/vacation home when the three Babbitt's children were small. Soon after they sold the cabin, Babbitt's got a phone call notifying her that the lightning had struck the house and it had burned to the ground. That's when the story began to unwrap the way it worked. Upon its publication, it became a word-of-mouth favourite, but it took a while to cement its popularity and establish itself as a go-to for school reading lists. That has been in recent years. Early on, the subject matter was considered taboo and met with some resistance. One father was so irate about Tuck being used in his children's school that he shocked the principal in the nose. Can you imagine getting into a physical fight over the taboo subject of Tuck Everlasting?
Jesus.
Fast forward 40 years, Babbitt observes that the majority of teachers these days embrace Tuck and enjoy and encourage it in discussions that come from reading. Babbitt believes that the 5th grade is the ideal time for children to discover Tuck. That's the age where I think there's a turning point. Kids are ready to be treated like a person, and they like it a lot. I get annoyed with the idea that children aren't worth talking to seriously until they're 18. Anne Tyler, who is a Pulitzer-winning author, has said it is one of the best books written of any age. The New York Times would say about it in 2002. From the moment it appeared, it has been fiercely loved by children and their parents for its honest, intelligent grappling with aging and death. Now, how do you feel about this book?
I love this book so much. I have my own copy. It is really annotated.
Yeah, I've seen it with my own two eyes.
I read some of it to Esme. Yes, every year I read some of it to Esme.
That makes it sound a lot weirder than it actually is. We're just talking about Tuck, and then out will appear Nell the book.
Yeah. I think part of it, to be fair, is just like it was really hard to find a copy in the UK.
Yeah.
So I did just kind of end up, the second I got it, I just carry it everywhere with me.
Yeah.
And it's a really good book.
Yeah. I mean, the parts that you were reading, this is going to sound so weird, but it is what happened. The parts that you were reading to me yesterday sounded great.
Yeah.
I get where it diverges from the musical, because there was one point where you were like, okay, what was it? May Tuck.
What about May Tuck?
She gets arrested.
Oh, yeah, she kills a man and gets arrested and sentenced to death.
Yeah.
In the book.
In the book, not in the musical, guys.
In the musical, that doesn't happen, unfortunately.
The second act just gets derailed from questions of life and death to, we've got to get May Tuck out of prison.
There's also stuff like, I guess, Miles has a son and daughter.
Yeah.
And in the book, the daughter is his main focus.
That's
And,
very
like, she's
interesting.
called Anna, and the son is never named. It's just, I want to have a son. Whereas in the musical,
it's just Thomas.
Son is just his son, Thomas.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
I think, let me grab my comic book, because I have a bit at the back which has some of the differences.
Is that your Sprite?
I forgot I had a whole nother bottle of 7-Up.
This is how many liquids Nell had last night.
We were in the train station and it was get 2 for £4. I was like, well, of course I'll buy 2.
Would you
I'm
buy
thirsty.
2?
And then I only drank one of them on the train.
Are you getting up your like 3 bullet points at the back of the book?
Oh yeah. I think it's kind of what Natalie Babbitt was saying in that interview. But basically my big thing was the book is a focus on teaching Winnie that death is not a bad thing, whereas the musical has more of a focus on teaching the Tucks how to be alive. Which I think is a fun change. But I also, how do I put this? I like both versions, and I think they are both giving different messages. Like, there are things that happen. For example, like the wheel. All of the lyrics from the wheel are taken basically word for word from the book. He does just say all of that, but it's said in a very different manner. Where he's teaching Winnie, hey, you shouldn't be scared of death. Which he does also say in the musical, but it just feels a little more out of place in the musical. And it's not. Like, it still makes her happy. But it's before that, there's no indication that Winnie doesn't want to die. It's like her thing with the immortality is more she's 11 years old. And she's like, oh, it would be cool to live forever.
It'd be cool to go with Jessie and have all these fun adventures and see the 7 wonders of the world instead of just being trapped in a gate in the house by the gate.
Yeah.
All sad and lonely.
Whereas, like, in the book, she seems to have a genuine fear of death. And then it's really fun because then after, just before and then all the way after, May kills the man in the yellow suit. There is suddenly like all this imagery around death, like they're constantly talking about the gallows.
Interesting.
It's very interesting, but she seems to get over her fear of death. Musical is definitely more like the Tucks are stuck. They're not living.
Yeah.
Which is also a line in the book. You can't have living without dying. So you can't call this living what we got. But I feel like because to be fair, the finale in the musical is very like
fucking finale.
It's very much you have realised, oh, the Tucks have learned to live.
Yeah.
Like, they're still sad, they're still lonely. But ultimately they're living again.
Yeah.
Like this 11-year-old girl did teach her to live. The finale of the book, the epilogue, is very sad.
I think the finale of the musical is heartbreaking.
I think it is as well, but I think there's certain things in the ending of the book, which is, one, you find out that the tree that had the water in it got struck by lightning. So the water source disappeared and then they paved over it. So you know that the Tucks will never meet anyone like them ever again. They are fully alone with only themselves. That's really sad. you find out that Winnie died 2 years before they came to see her. So they missed her by 2 years and never saw her again. And then, let me double check before I say this. They do find the toad. The toad is in both.
Okay.
And then at the end of the book, they do just drive off. And you have no idea what happens to them. And it's not the whole family, it's only May and Tuck.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's
But
sad in a different way.
It's sad in a different way, but I think, again, it's the thing, the focus is on Winnie dying. And that it's fine. Like, the world has gone on,
Yeah.
but nothing bad has happened because she's died.
Yeah.
It's just a part of life. Whereas the musical very much treats it as, it is really sad she has died, but ultimately she did good by teaching the Tucks how to live life to the best of their ability. And she also did, that's the thing, when they're like, Winifred Foster Jackson, beloved mother, devoted grandmother, expert fisherman. I can quote this musical.
Sorry, I'm getting up a line.
Esme asked me for it, I'll say it.
Looks like she led the life we never could.
Yeah, because there's things they can't do, like they can't have more kids because the kids will die.
They can't. Well, they are technically a grandmother.
Yeah.
But
so she lives life to the fullest, and in return, they live their life as full as they can.
Yeah. Anyway, let's keep it moving because I've got so much more to say about Tuck Everlasting Mortality, and
yeah,
we haven't even gone near the story of Winnie Foster yet. But let me just say, when I start on the story of Winnie Foster, I don't stop until I start crying. Anywho, at the age of 11, Nathan Tyston would read Tuck Everlasting, and the story would have a profound impact on him. When you're connected with a character that's the same age of you, that's dealing with the universal questions of mortality and the afterlife, the book really helped me deal with that. The story would stick with him throughout his years until he met until he was a NYU graduate of musical theatre writing program, and he met Chris Miller. And they would compare lists of dream projects, and Tuck Everlasting was at the top of both of their lists. At this point, they would seek out the theatrical rights. However, it was 2002, and we all know what happened in 2002.
The world's worst adaptation of Tuck Everlasting is made.
Yeah, and the 2002 Disney movie had just been released. So they were like, oh, shit, this ain't happening. At least not right now. However, in 2006, they decided to give Tuck Everlasting one last chance, pitching the idea to Beth Williams, a producer at Broadway across America. It was a serendipitous moment, all of this that night. After a meeting with us, Beth met with producer Barry Brown. He slides across the table to her and say, "So I just got the rights to a book called Tuck Everlasting. I'm looking for a partner."
Oh.
Yeah, it's a really good story, that.
Yeah.
Claudia Shea, who had not read Tuck Everlasting until producer Beth Williams approached her to begin working on the project. She finished the book and she knew she had to write a musical. I felt a chill, she said in an interview. That's how I know something is right. I get a physical reaction. Chris Miller, who had seen Dirty Blonde, which is one of Claudia Shea's earlier plays, was surprised at the choice of the children's story set at the turn of the century New England. I was taken aback when the producers suggested we meet with her, as her body of work didn't seem in line with such things. However, her take on the Tuck material was both refreshing and interesting. Babbitt would say about the musical, when I first had the idea proposed some 7 or 8 years ago, this was obviously before it had its first out-of-town trial in Atlanta, I felt uneasy. But then I met the people who were involved, and they all agreed that they wanted to keep the essence of the story intact. It was exciting to watch them add elements of a live musical. She's been involved ever since the first reading, which guided their hand. I think they ended up creating the version of the musical, her version of a musical would be. So this is what Shea would say about writing the script for it. She gave me about Babbitt's involvement. She gave me a free hand with 1 or 2 caveats that were personal to her, and I wrote for 6 years. I never watched the Disney movie. That was one of the caveats. Natalie asked me to never see that film, and so far I haven't. And aren't we all better for it?
Thank God.
Nell was talking about her hatred of that movie yesterday.
It sucks.
I understand why it sucks. I don't need to see it to know it sucks, because I mean they fuck with the whole dynamic between Jessie and Winnie.
They kind of ruin what the story is.
Yeah. They would have a presentation of the show in December 2011. At this point, they would have Casey Nicholaw attached to the project as director and choreographer. It was originally planned to go to Boston and then Broadway, with a cast even announced being Carolee Carmello, Michael Park, Andrew Keenan-Bolger, and a little-known actress that's never been heard of since, child star that faded off into obscurity, Sadie Sink. None of us have heard of her since.
Sadie Sink from Tuck Everlasting.
That's her biggest project to this day. It would be postponed because in 2013 because there was no theatres for them to go into afterwards.
Yeah.
Similar to what's happening right now with Queen of Versailles. So they would finally have their out-of-town tryout in Atlanta 2015 with them having Sarah Charles Lewis. This little girl singing
icon.
Now fucking loves Sarah Charles Lewis. The little girl who you sing, I guess she aged out of the role. I feel really bad for her. So they had Sarah
understudy.
No, I looked at the playbill for the Broadway run. I couldn't see her name in it.
I hate to do this. There is a broadway.com blog.
Is there?
Yeah, it's Andrew Keenan-Bolger is in it. You think he wasn't going to do a Broadway.com
No, I can
blog?
picture the Broadway.com blog in my brain right now.
I could have sworn that Sadie Sink is in it, but it has been a little while since I've watched it.
Let me go up the playbill. I forgot Ben Tyler Cook was in it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, understudy, Winnie was Elizabeth Margaret Crawford and Brooklyn Shuck.
That's what I'm thinking of.
Because I did think that she was like involved in the Broadway production in some way, so that's why I was looking. Yes, they'd find Sarah Charles Lewis because I was reading interviews. She's originally from Atlanta, so they just found a local girl that could play Winnie, which makes sense.
Yeah.
Andrew Keenan-Bolger, Robert Lindsay, Terrence Mann, who's done nothing else, just was the man in the yellow suit.
Exactly.
Michael Park, who I would really like if he did nothing else apart from being, what's his name?
What?
What's the dad's name? Because all I can think about is the fact that in the book he doesn't have a name, he's just Tuck.
Angus.
Angus.
His name in the book is just Tuck.
That's what you were telling me yesterday, so when I was thinking about his character, that's all I could think about. And then Carolee Carmello and Beth Level would play the role like later on in the run because Carolee Carmello had something else to go do. So let's read the reviews of what people had to say about Tuck Everlasting in the Atlanta run. Okay, so Variety would say, despite its existentialism light sweep, this intimate family story of love, loss, and purpose, and the power of storytelling in the American folk tradition of Twain and Wilder, with music and dance element that deepen the story and its themes and emotions, whilst also helping to deflect some of the narrative's more heart-scratching details. Smartly, the book, by Claudia Schiffer, steers clear of the catchy teen romance in the 2002 Disney film adaptation, and smartly returns to the story's heroine's childhood. That's a weird sentence to read out loud. Choreographer and director Casey Nicholaw, noted for his bold, sassy hand in Book of Mormon, Aladdin, and The Drowsy Chaperone, here explores a more delicate and lyrical approach, creating a moving ballet sequence that reps in as one of the evening's highlights. The show's warm tones are deepened too by the Walt Spanger's set, grounded by his swirling forestry and Kevin Posner's golden glow lighting. Well-crafted tunes by Chris Miller and Nathan Tyson set their musical motif in folk roots meet Broadway territory. Touching ballads, My Most Beautiful Day and For the Best, are rendered by Tuck matriarch May, played by Carolee Carmello. But the show heart lies in the relationship between Winnie and the eternally 17-year-old boy, though really 104. Jesse Tuck, who skillfully, played by Andrew Bolger, who skillfully balances the joy of youth and the underlying loneliness of his journey. As Winnie, Lewis is a real find, with possessed and engaging, with a presence not only hold to a stage, but to carry a show. Still, her character needs a little bit less pluck and a little bit more conflict about the family she may be leaving behind to exchange a sip for Foreverland. There also isn't a fulfilling resolution to the Jessie and Winnie story that satisfies. If some of those details can be worked out, the show may have a shot of living on too. Do you want me to read the New York Times review and then you can give your opinion?
Yeah.
Because Nell may or may not know what goes down in the Atlanta production. The New York Times would say, the ballet, once a staple of the American musical in the 1940s, when the first form grew up to maturity, put dancers swirling through dream sequences haven't seen much in the last few decades, or more as a vernacular movement or little dance has become standard. So it is a wonder and a pleasure that the stirring climax of the new family musical Tuck Everlasting here consists of gorgeous sweeping ballet that dramatizes the life of its heroine as she grows from young girl to young woman to motherhood and beyond. I'm glad we're acknowledging the dream ballet. Not the dream ballet.
Not the dream ballet.
I keep wanting to call it the dream ballet because in my mind it is the ultimate dream ballet.
But it's not a dream.
No, it's not a dream. It's the story of Winnie Foster, and that's why it's called the story of Winnie Foster. But in my mind, I keep wanting to call it the dream ballet. More surprising is the man who created the steps, Casey Nicholaw, the choreographer and director, well known for his bio-Oscar comic work in musicals like Aladdin and the cheerfully foul-mouthed blockbuster The Book of Mormon. Refreshingly and necessarily, Mr. Nicholaw brings a softer touch to this period fable about a restless young girl who befriends a family with a mysterious secret. Already polished and enjoyable in its developmental run, Tuck Everlasting is the kind of kid-friendly musical that might find the waters choppy in the commercial sphere, with its hallmark specialist period warmth and its lack of spectacle. Indeed, the most dazzling passage is probably the culminating ballet, wordlessly conveying the circle of life as if it were, without benefit, a spectacular puppetry and a familiar pop song. It had the woman next to me repeatedly wiping away tears, and I understood how she felt. I really liked the inclusion in the New York Times review of, a woman next to me was weeping her eyes out at the story of Winnie Foster. Although it was called, like, something different. The story of Winnie Foster was called, like, The Everlasting Ballet or something like that. Which I thought was interesting. Anyway, it would be announced to play Broadway in 2016 at the Broadhurst Theatre after Mamma Mia closed. They would bring in another book writer post-Atlanta. It would be Tim Federell, who joined the team as co-book writer. His novel, Better Nate Than Ever, was inspired by his experience coaching a child stars of Billy Elliot on Broadway. He also appeared as an actor in the 2003 revival of Gypsy, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and The Little Mermaid. He was assistant to the director on Tuck Everlasting at the first reading, but he brought him on to work at the tier. Sheer welcomed the collaboration. After 6 years, a fresh eye is a good thing. So basically being like, this has been worked on for quite a while. It needs someone else just to kind of come in and make sure that it's all still good. Because I guess, like, almost a dramaturg. Like, when it's been worked on to death by one person, they're probably a bit too close to it to be able to tell, like, what's wrong and what's right about it. I was telling Nell about this headline yesterday. The headline in between productions to try and drum up hype, Playboy would put out an article saying, Jeremy Jordan, Andrew Bolger, and Barrett Wilbert-Weed sing from the Broadway-bound Tuck Everlasting. It made me giggle. Although the clip that has the most views is the one of Sadie Sink singing Everlasting with like 155,000 views, which is massive for Tuck.
Yeah.
It will officially start previews on the 31st of March 2015, with it opening on the 27th of April. they would make some changes to the two productions. With the opening sequence being completely reworked. Basically introducing like the Tucks and who they all are to each other quite quickly. And apparently there was a lot of flashbacks when they first started working that now just didn't work. So they tried to tell the story more literally. Plus, the show organically added more dance. They wrote 4 new songs. Yeah, those are some of the big changes. Do you have anything to add to that?
No.
Okay.
I don't want to talk about the changes between Atlanta and Broadway.
Okay.
Because number one, people are going to start to question how I know these changes. And number two, I just feel like in a lot of the changes is stuff where I'm like, oh, that's so cool in Atlanta. Why didn't they do that on Broadway? And at the same time, like for a lot of them, it just doesn't work in the way the Broadway musical works. Like I think there's things that could have been fun to keep between the two of them. But how do I put it? The Broadway version has been so well thought through, where everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And I think while a lot of the things in Atlanta are fun and are like cool to see, it's like, okay, I think the thing you said about, or in that interview before, about how they had to rework the opening.
Yeah.
It's because essentially the Atlanta Live Like This had the Tucks all introduced in their happiest moments in life.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Which is really cool. Like a really incredible idea. Really fun. The way it is done on Broadway, of the prologue and then Live Like This, makes so much more sense. And I think like that's the kind of point I'm trying to make. It would be so cool to see the Atlanta version. The Broadway version makes so much more sense.
I mean, if you're if you love any show that you love, you are intrigued by every incarnation of it, though, and the kind of almost the changes it goes through.
Yeah. But I think as well, it's more interesting to get a lot of their, because they do all eventually talk about that. Well, not all of them, but at least May and Miles do both talk about their happiest moments.
Yeah.
In like kind of the concept of time and My Most Beautiful Day.
I love My Most Beautiful Day.
I actually used to really dislike it. It used to be my least favorite song.
It's such
but now I like it. And I think that's more important because like this is gonna be kind of morbid. But, like the idea
you don't everlasting, you can be morbid this week.
For both of those happiest moments. They're the only ones left that can tell them.
Yes.
Like there's no point in being like, oh, here's May Tuck on her wedding day, and look at how beautiful she looks, and look at all of her friends and family around her.
Yeah.
As she's getting married. And instead being like her saying, oh, this was my happiest day. This is when I looked my best.
Yeah.
When I married my husband.
Yeah.
And then to have only those two do the dance because they're the only two left who actually remember it, who are still alive to do it. And the same with like Miles. When he's talking about his family, there is a child in the production. But I don't think he's ever there.
I think they're like Miles. Partner in crime and in like the carnival, the child.
Also in the story of Winnie Foster.
Yeah, as I'd say, doesn't it become Winnie Foster's son?
It is Winnie Foster's son. I'm trying to remember if he's ever in any other bits. I don't think so. I don't think he's in Time.
No, I don't think. Because I think Time is just the two of them on stage.
At the very least, if he is, it's more so it's Miles looking at another child and being like, my son was like that.
My son
being like, that's my son.
My son might be dead now.
Yeah. But he's the only one that remembers like teaching Thomas these things because his wife is definitely dead.
Oh yeah, his wife is long.
And his son is probably dead.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's my thoughts on the changes between Atlanta and Broadway.
Okay. So let's read the reviews for Tuck Everlasting on Broadway. I was telling Nell yesterday, I have included full names of people. in case Nell wants to get annoyed at them. So, the New York Times would give it a critic's pick. The New York Times were not being bitter haters for once in their goddamn lives. And they said, family-friendly musicals on Broadway generally come in one flavour, flashy. Enter Tug Everlasting, a warm-spirited, piercingly touching musical that has nothing flashy or splashy about it. The nearest this small-scale production comes to the kind of spectacle we associate with Kiddie Bay is a toad hopping across the stage. Based on the popular children's book by Natalie Babbitt, the musical, which opened on Tuesday at the Broadhurst Theatre, is deftly adapted by Claudia Scheer and Tim Vendel. Features writing, varied score by Chris Miller and Nathan Tyson. A show, surprisingly, is directed and choreographed by Casey Nicholaw, who specializes in the kind of musicals Tug Everlasting very much is not. The razzle-dazzle Aladdin, the superbly vulgar The Book of the Mormon, and the last season's Anything for a Laugh, Elizabethan spoof, Something Rotten. Mr. Nicholaw does let loose in a couple of rousing numbers led by the show's mysterious villain, a carnival worker, with high-kicking dancers swirling and strutting across the stage. You can almost feel his delight for getting to flex these muscles he's not often used. But it also evidences the most natural feel in the tender emotional core of the material, and even its layers of mildly dark philosophical inquiry. Yes, I used the phrase philosophical inquiry in reference to a Broadway musical aimed at a family crowd. Tug Everlasting rings a variation from the fountain of youth myth, ultimately asking what life would mean if it never ended, and whether or not a never-ending life would be worth living. It provides an answer as enthralling in the enthralling wordless climax. The ballet depicts with a moving clarity what another well-celebrated musical would call the circle of life. In a clustered opening number, it bears paying close attention to. We meet the Tuck family. I'm going to skip a bit. The actors throughout are excellent. Carolee Carmello sings with her usual pure claritation tone and a nice rapport with Miss Lewis. She and Mr. Park are movingly indicate their love for their sons and their pain with the strange predicament that forces them to separate from their boys for long periods. And Mr. Keenan Bolger is terrific, exuberant performance as Jesse, whose delight is trying to find that he can confide in finding a friend that he can confide in carries him away. Tug Everlasting can sometimes be a little ham-handed in addressing its central theme, the notion that life's beauty is inseparable from the inevitable end. Taking Winnie out on a fish and chip, Angus tells her, don't be afraid of death, Winnie. Be afraid of not being truly alive. You don't need to live forever. You just need to live. This is after the singing a song with the lyric, you can't have living without dying. Noted. When the production is in its thrilling final moments, Mr. Nicholaw's choreography and Mr. Miller's rapturous music take over, and the cast and dancers expects the same ideas with a kinetic beauty that startles an emotional resonance and theatrical force. Among the many refreshing surprises of Tug Everlasting is this reminder that musical necessarily doesn't have to sing to speak moments of truth to bring them home to us. The New York Times were being sane for once.
Yeah.
I think that's I agree with a lot of what they've just said.
Yeah. I think the only bit that I do have the bit of like, you don't get this like I do, is the bit about being a little ham-handed in addressing the central theme.
Yeah.
Because for me, it's just like, well, what else is addressing it?
Yeah.
Like, I guess if the issue is you either don't address it or you're a bit obvious about it. I mean, like, what else is saying it?
Yeah.
Because either nothing on Broadway is talking about death, or is doing it, like, jokingly or overly sadly. Like, I guess you think, I'm gonna say it, unfortunately. You have Hamilton there.
Yeah.
But Hamilton's whole thing of death is like, oh, it's so sad. You have to leave something behind. You have to have something to leave behind you when you die.
Yeah, Hamilton's more concerned with legacy.
You have to have a legacy. You have to have a story to tell.
Yeah.
You have to like leave people behind to tell your story.
Mm.
And it's very like, I guess sad is the best word I can think of. Whereas I think like the whole thing with Tug Everlasting is, yes, it is very ham-handed in don't be scared of death. You're going to
Yeah.
die. That's fine.
Yeah.
And especially for like a kids musical.
Mm. However, like, it still hits. Like, I do love The Wheel, and I think it's an incredibly well-written song.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, it's a kids musical, so that you kind of do have to spell it out for them at a certain point.
Yeah. But I
Anyway.
think as well, it's the kind of thing of like, not to keep saying it, but there is nothing else saying that.
No.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're like 5, 15, 50, whatever,
Mm.
when you're watching it.
Mm.
Like, it's probably the first time you have been told that.
Yeah. Quite a philosophical debate it actually gets into without, like, making you think about it too much.
I guess.
Anyway. Now, my agreement with all of the reviews are going to probably stop now. The Washington Post had the headline, Tuck Everlasting is strictly for little ones, which I disagree with. It's by Peter Marks. Despite a boatload of talent, Tuck Everlasting remains moored to the Kiddie Harbour. This stage version of Natalie Babbitt's best-selling children's novel tells of a family living and living and living under a special charm that turns out to be a special curse. Yet the show itself, under Casey Nichola's direction, does not come special enough. In the far more engaging story of Peter Pan, one that introduces your little one's gently consoling way to the concept of mortality, and in this vehicle is the Tuck clan, whose members, once upon a time, drank from a magic spring where they conferred them on them immortality. This makes them lonely, not happy, because everyone else they came to know except their cat, which partook in the waters, grows old and dies. It's better Tuck Everlasting adheres to savor each moment of its finite experience, than muddle through an infatuating immutability of a lifetime that rolls on ad infinitum. It is a perfectly adapted lesson for a second grade skill set. But because so much of the show concerns the burdens of the Tucks have to live, the score by Chris Miller and Nathan Tyson leaves a little more than a mournful impression. In the woman-like book by Claudia Scheer and Tim Ferdle oozes with sincerity rather than real humour or pathos. The overall effect, despite the skills of Broadway pros like Park, Carmelo, and Keenan Bolger, not to mention some other dependable vets like Terrence Mann or Fred Applegate, is leaden. The musical, which had its official opening on Tuesday night at the Broadhurst Theatre, is no doubt can count on the future as a staple for stage companies to cater to their young audiences, but the Broadway incarnation, decked out by pretty storybook sets and lovely costumes, features an 11-year-old Sarah Charles Lewis as Winnie Foster, a voracious New Hampshire girl who's chafing under the constraints imposed by her widowed and eternally grieving mother. Sarah is technically accomplished with a strong, clear voice and a fortitude necessary to carry the central role in a Broadway show. For many young girls you take to see Tuck Everlasting will surely want to be her, even if the adults might prefer to be somewhere else. Yeah, that's that review. I don't agree with this review, actually. I think it's quite reductionist just to reduce it down to, oh, it's a kids show.
Yeah.
Like, it's more than a kids show. Anyway, we're gonna revisit a reviewer that we sometimes talk about quite a bit on here, The Guardian. Alexis Solowski gave it 3 stars. Surprise, surprise. She said the question of immortality is addressed in the translationally new musical Tuck Everlasting, based on the well-loved children's book by Natalie Babbitt. Winnie Foster, adorable newcomer Sarah Charles Lewis, is possibly rebellious 11-year-old chances on the Tucks in a family rendered eternal by having drunk from the woodland spring in a unusually high eternity content, and judging by the flashing teeth, plenty of peroxide too. Right, okay. The story is a mixture of homespun and the philosophical. Was it always going to be difficult to adapt? In part because of the plenty of action, kidnapping, murder, and in the novel at least, a daring prison break. It only makes up a few pages of the book, which is otherwise devoted to gentler question and pursuits. The tension surfaces of the musical structure begins in a well enough in Live Like This, an I Wish song for all the major characters. Too many of the numbers that came after this, composed by Chris Miller and lyrics by Nathan Tyson, fall into the I Wish category. This revelation of desire eventually pales. The lyrics can feel generic, so can the book, by Claudia Scheer and Tim Farrell, both of whom have proved distinct writers with other projects. The language with hugs and okays that hopes to be 1808 will be our best year yet is all too contemporary, at least for the writers that yearn to laugh when Winnie's grandma addresses the man dressed in the yellow suit as an evil banana. It seems like something is amiss in the storybook design, and the woodsy set has entrails to resemble a giant order of that how the frick do you say that word?
What?
How the hell do you say that word?
Fettuccine?
Fettuccine? Oh, I think I know what they're saying now. Fettuccine, or an experiment in basket weaving gone terribly awry. Costumes for the chorus by Greg Barnes, with decolleté and Regency waist for women and close-fitting breeches for men, appear borrowed from some Jane Austen soft porn. There is a scene on a boat that looks like a countrified version of Music of the Night.
Kill yourself.
That is personal. Like, that's a personal attack for Nell.
Yeah.
But the musical's signal misstep and ultimate salvation is sentimentality. One of the finer qualities of Babbitt's book is how free it is in the squishy or marshwash. Not here. Winnie is given a dead father, ostensibly to deepen her emotional predicament. There's a sappy quality in how hurt she perceives and revives each one of the tired tucks. If it seems mushy and unnecessary, the same sentiments inspire in a concluding ballet choreographed by Casey Nicholaw, which is a triumph. Yes, the symbolism is obvious. Yes, it tugs at the heartstrings with a deathless grip. But it also beautifully illustrates the show's belief in the splendor of human life, however, is ephemeral. I think that's enough Tuck Everlasting reviews.
Yeah.
After the Music of the Night comparison.
Yeah.
I was like, I think we're done here. What's interesting is there's a website called didtheylikeit.com which just shows you a brief, like, for every Broadway show. I don't know how far going back this is. For every Broadway show, they show you, like, what news sites have given it, like, thumbs up, like, okay reviews, or, like, negative reviews. The New York Times are the only ones to give Tuck Everlasting, like, a positive review, which is wild.
Mm.
So it is time for the synopsis.
When Winnie Foster discovers the magical secret of the Tuck family, she embarks on an extraordinary adventure that will change her life forever. I guess.
That's Tuck Everlasting. Are you reading the synopsis of the book?
To be fair, very similar.
Yeah.
At noontime, Winnie Foster lost her patience at last and decided to think about running away. And when she ventures into the woods, she meets the extraordinary Tuck family, who will open Winnie's eyes to truths about love, happiness, and humanity, and what it might really mean to live forever.
How do we start talking about our thoughts on this?
I love this musical.
It is Nell's favourite musical, yeah.
Ever.
Yeah. And it's been that way for ages now.
Yeah.
I've never watched a bootleg in my life. However, if I might have watched a Tuck Everlasting bootleg, I went into it thinking that I was going to like it. thinking that I was probably gonna have a good time watching this Tuck Everlasting bootleg. Again, never watched a bootleg in my life. However, the second we got like hot, and I can't lie. When I first watched it, I was kind of dreading the 10-minute dance sequence that you told me about.
Mm.
I was like, this will be boring. I don't really care for that. And then I got halfway through the 10-minute dance sequence and started sobbing at the age of 14. And I could never put into words why it made me just absolutely lose my shit in such a way. However, it is just like I have some stuff written down on the story of Winnie Foster. So basically, Casey Nicholaw has always wanted to stage like this very epic ballet scene, but has never done a musical that would allow him to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually inspired by Angus DeMille's choreography, who did a lot of the early Rodgers and Hammerstein stuff.
Yeah.
Which is very ballet focused, which makes sense. The A Minute Ballet spans 8 decades of Winnie's life. Nicholaus has said it's the piece of dance that he's proudest of. I've always wanted to do ballet like that, and I finally found a show to do it. It's been a hell of a journey. It's a slow, small, simple journey, but that's actually big in scope. It's a slow burn that ends up being something big, even though you don't know it will be when you start. I love that you see this little guy who's dressed all prim and proper, see this weird guy in yellow, and you see the family, and you don't know in the beginning how they're all going to connect to other. Yeah, at one point it was called the Everlasting Ballet. So, I don't know, I think it's one of the most interesting moments in theatre of that decade. Because you just don't see it very often.
Mm.
And it's so effective of what it's trying to do. And I was thinking about it. How else could they adapt, like, what Winnie Foster grows up into? Because in the book, they really talk about her life post the Tucks.
No, it's just the epilogue.
Interesting.
They basically, I'm double checking really quick. Basically, it's semi-similar to what happened in the musical, where the last time we see young Winnie, she basically puts the water on the toad. And then in the musical, you get the ballet. In the book, it then just goes straight into the epilogue, where she is dead.
Interesting. Because I think in the musical, if they had just gone from her putting water on the toad to her dying, I don't think it would carry the same emotional weight.
No, I don't think it would have been as effective.
No. And I also don't think they could have, like, I also feel I couldn't imagine them doing a song to it.
I guess I could kind of see them going straight from, there's a little bit of dialogue after Everlasting, when she goes back to her parents.
Yeah.
And then I guess I could see them cutting to the start of the finale of them just reading her grave.
Yeah.
And just basically cut out the story of Winnie Foster. But I just don't think they would. And I don't think they ever should.
No.
Because I think like the story of Winnie Foster is basically the essence of the musical.
Yeah.
It's taking in all of the like musical themes from before. It's telling her story.
Yeah.
You watch her grow up, you watch her have a kid, watch her get married, and then you watch her family die.
Yeah.
And then you watch her die.
Yeah. Because it's the wheel.
Yeah.
You get told about it and then you get to see it in practice. Also, is it in like one production or some like the Broadway production they had like Jessie stand like really off stage in the wedding portion of the ballet?
Yeah, they had, I don't remember where it was. It might have been briefly in Atlanta or briefly on Broadway, but they stopped doing it. They did have Jessie come and stand at the very edge of the stage to watch her wedding and then leave.
See, that's just heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But I
think it's really hard to talk about because, like, in theory, I could talk about it for hours, but it would just kind of be me going, and so the prologue happens. This is what happens in the prologue, and that's really cool. And then Live Like This happens, and this is what happens in Live Like This, and that's really cool.
Yeah.
And then Good Girl Winnie Foster happens, and it's really cool. Go like song by song, go through.
If you want to like talk about some of your favorite songs though, or would it just be everything?
Kind of just everything. I think The Wheel,
Mm.
I genuinely get one of the lyrics in The Wheel tattooed on me.
Yeah, you've been speaking about this for like years.
I probably should just get it done.
Yeah.
But I want a water wheel. And then the line, you don't need to live forever, you just need to live.
Oh, I think that's a great line.
And I want that tattooed on me somewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's the thing, I just don't know where I'd put it.
Mm.
But yeah, it's a very special musical to me.
Yeah.
I love it a lot.
Yeah.
I'm again really worried I'm not gonna do it like justice in this episode.
Mm.
From a mix of me being like, I don't know how to put into words how much I love it.
Well,
and also just being still so tough.
I mean, we were talking yesterday about Next to Normal, because I think we're gonna go see it this month.
Yeah.
And I was like, it puts into words a feeling I can't put into words myself.
Yeah.
And same with Hades Town. Like, a lot of the musicals I have a quite visceral reaction to, and like I really, really deeply love, all have feelings that I can't put into words myself.
Mm.
Is it the same with you and Tuck Everlasting, or is it just I just love this thing so much? It's just so good.
I think a mix of both. Because part of it is, again, I was probably 11 or 12 when I first listened to it. Maybe 13 at the oldest.
That's still within the age bracket for Winnie.
Yeah. But so that's why I feel really strongly about the idea of just there is no other musical or really much media anywhere.
Yeah.
That is aimed at that kind of age range specifically, but also in general. That is saying, don't be afraid of death. Like, you're going to die, that's fine.
Yeah.
And like, not even just that. Also, like, you're going to die, that's fine. Therefore, you have to live first.
That's the thing.
And so, yeah, there's a part of it that's like, I had no other way to like express that or think about that when I first listened to it, apart from listening to like Tug Everlasting.
Yeah.
And now that I'm older, I do think it's like, oh, I understand it a bit more. I understand myself a bit more.
Yeah.
I could like put it into words other ways.
Yeah.
And so nowadays it's more just like, I really fucking love this musical. And if anyone says anything mean about it, I'm gonna cry.
I do get what you mean, because I was re-listening to it day before yesterday, and I was just like, no, this just genuinely bangs. Like, I'm sorry.
It's just good.
This just genuinely, like, does not have to go this hard.
It's like, let me try and actually talk about it.
Okay.
Let's see if I can do it.
I think you can. I think you can do this genuinely in your sleep.
But in a way that's not just me going, I really like it, and I really like this song. I think it's really cool. I'm just gonna sit in silence for 5 minutes first while I think about it.
I could talk about My Most Beautiful Day and how much I love that song. What else do you think?
Can I start there as well first? Because I think that might help me get into it.
Okay.
Which is that...
Yeah.
I never used to like My Most Beautiful Day. It was like my least favorite song on the album. It was the one I usually skip. I was like, it's a good song. It's a fine song. I'm just like, it's a bit boring. I don't care for this. And then I think I hit like 18 and I was like, oh fuck, this is an incredible song. I'm
gonna get up the lyrics because I need to talk about this fucking song.
Every grown woman who stands at a mirror remembers her most beautiful day. Every girl past her prime knows the date and the time. She looks most exquisite. And she will revisit that day, her most beautiful day for the rest of her life.
It's so simple.
Each memory a sweet melody, your heart beats to. With each passing day, what time takes away, the heart makes you. Looking back is something to look forward to.
The thing with that song is, on paper, it is such a simple song. It's just a woman reminiscing about her life. And it is really specific, but I think that this song is a great example of the power and specificity. I'm tired, guys. Don't come at me before I pronounce these. But like, it's so hard. The imagery of it. Most beautiful day, Pa took me dancing, and everything fell into place. My hair tied like so with a blackberry bow, and I will remember. Now I will remember that day for my most beautiful day for the rest of my life. Like, she's gonna live forever, and that's the one day she's going to remember.
I think that's the thing as well. It's like she's not by any means old.
No,
Like mentally, yes,
mentally, girl's tired.
but she's physically stuck at what, like 40 or 50?
Mid-40s at like most.
Yeah.
In those days,
1800s, yeah, she had her kids yet.
That's what I'm about to say. She is like 20 years old when she's popping out Jessie and Miles.
And Miles is only in his 20s, we think.
And Jessie is famously 17.
17. So yeah, probably like 40 or 50, like 50 max.
Yeah, at the absolute
Like
most.
she is stuck looking like that. In the grand scheme of things, not old.
Oh, no.
I mean, it's Carolee Carmello as well.
Love you, Carolee Carmello.
Like, it's not like you're looking at her and she's like, yes, I used to be beautiful.
I used to be Yeah, that's also a thing of like, she said, yeah, it's not being like, oh, I wish I had my youthful look. She's just like, no, that was the day.
Like, that was just the one day I looked best.
But also, it's not like, oh, but then the music box appears.
Yeah, the music box is both a source of misery for me and also humor. I really like when she starts singing and when he's like, oh yeah, my like grandma heard this music all the time from the woods. For me, it's like,
oh, but like she's also talking about her wedding day. Like that's actually what her most beautiful day is. It's her marrying the man that she is going to spend eternity with, whether or not she likes it.
Yeah. And it's like when we first meet May and Angus, they're kind like, it isn't live like this. And she's like, nothing in this house moves.
Except from the clock on the wall.
Yeah. And it is like their marriage is kind of falling apart, but they can't not live together. They have to stay married.
They are stuck whether or not they like it.
Yeah. And I think I'm going to bring up the name of the song, and then we're not going to talk about it because I'll cry. But Time Quartet.
Can I just, I'm going to triple check a lyrics in that, because that's my favourite lyric.
Which lyric are you thinking, Esme? Because I can say it.
Is it when they go, I still look forward to you?
Yeah. You know what? I'm actually kind of envious of Jessie. Envious?
Envious?
Like, at least he has something to look forward to. Hey, I can look forward to you. Really? Every day. Every year. Time. We've been granted so much time. But what if all this time did more than pass us by?
Guys, we as a society,
even infinite, still must have life in it. We know it won't kill us to try.
Guys,
great lyrics, first of all.
As a society, we have failed Tuck Everlasting so hard because we are just letting these bars being spare and no one is doing anything to acknowledge it apart from us.
Open air theatre.
Open air. Please.
Me and Esme said yesterday, every August 1st, because it's the first day of August 1893. Me and Esme will go walk around central London and then like see a show in the evening. Sometimes we don't do it on August 1st if we can't make it work. That's what we were doing yesterday, that's why we're tired.
Yep. Great time.
We were sat in that theatre and Esme says to me, genuinely, how are we meant to top today?
Because like yesterday was just like, also the thing is that we get up to a lot of like very specific us nonsense.
Yeah.
And we got up to so much us nonsense yesterday. Like, winning a Today Tix giveaway is peak us nonsense, and then going to see Hades Town from the stalls. And then Nell coming up with her story idea.
Which is so good. But yeah, and I was like, I think genuinely we have to watch Tuck Everlasting live.
We have to stage it ourselves.
We have to put on our production. But open air theatre. Please, I think it's the perfect one to go outside. It's very much like about nature and it's not Lion King, but like the circle of life.
Yes.
I feel like, you know, there's nothing in there that really needs an indoor space to work.
Obviously, anywhere that they are doing Tuck Everlasting in the UK, Nell will be.
I will be there. I will be there
for every performance.
for at least one.
But I do understand why it is kind of the perfect show for an open air theatre to do.
Yeah. The only thing I'm thinking you might need to be inside for, just because it's kind of like a big set piece, is the tree for Top of the World.
That stage is fucking massive at the opener. They can find a tree.
Just get a ladder and some leaves.
Yeah.
I can imagine.
She's waited this long for Tuck Everlasting, it's fine.
I can't wait much longer.
I believe one day you will see a production of Tuck Everlasting.
I can dream.
I believe.
I think it's just, there are so many shows that I like had fully resigned myself to never seeing. I think we talked about like Bonnie and Clyde was definitely one.
Yes.
Where we were like, we're just never gonna see this.
Great comment.
Great comment. We were like, we're just never gonna see this live.
I'm never gonna see this live. Next to Normal was one I was like, when I'm like old and got a job, and if they're doing a revival on Broadway or like big regional production, I might have to go fly and see it.
Yeah. And then for me, it's just Tuck Everlasting. And all of those other ones we have seen or we're going to see.
Yeah.
Tuck, please put on a production of it somewhere.
I don't know why people don't give it the time of day. It's just a great written musical.
I think I would never watch a bootleg, and I would never endorse watching a bootleg. However, I think people need to watch the bootleg.
I like Tuck Everlasting that there's no other real way to fully engage with the story.
Yeah.
I mean, you can listen to the Girls recording, but you can't understand the magnitude of the story of Winnie Foster.
Yeah.
There's one song that I'm surprised you've not mentioned yet, and I don't know whether or not you want to talk about it.
What song?
Everlasting.
Yeah.
Everlasting's a very good song. Another absolute banger.
Incredible song. I forgot that the full Atlanta bootleg is on YouTube.
Yep.
That's where I've watched it, by the way. And I've never watched a bootleg.
No, of course. We would never break the law like that.
Exactly.
I mean...
And then the other really fun thing about where you may or may not be able to watch the Atlanta bootleg is that they do also have a video of cut songs.
Nell is not one to request that.
I do. If I open up my Google Drive, we might do something as well.
That's so funny.
I'm gonna look if I do still have it. I'm pretty sure I do.
I can't imagine you delete it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Still got it?
Yeah.
Oh, I think having it's technically the 11 o'clock number. I think I would safely call the song Everlasting your 11 o'clock number. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel quite safe saying that. Banger. It's such another fantastically well-written song.
I think as well, it's so simplistic in its lyrics.
Yes.
Like, while a lot of other songs in Tuck are really, like, lyrical and don't have a lot of, like, imagery and stuff in them. Like, even My Most Beautiful Day, I feel like, at least for me, when you're listening to it, you can imagine things about it.
Yes.
If that means. Like, there's a lot of, like, talking about colours. And seasons. Stuff like that. It feels a very lyrical song. Everlasting feels very blunt. It is this 11-year-old girl saying, do I live forever or do I die? Also, one thing that is so good. One thing that I enjoy about Tuck Everlasting, just like physically looking at the lyrics, for some of the other songs versus the Winnie songs, is they are actually able to write songs that are believable for a 12-year-old, for an 11-year-old girl to say. Like there is a distinct shift from when it's like May Tuck talking about her wedding day, or Angus talking about the wheel, or Miles talking about his child, and all and these more complicated things. And then there's like Winnie, who's like, when she's debating something quite philosophical, she's like, should I drink?
And it's not to say that this is like bad lyrics, it's just like appropriate lyrics for what a child would be singing and thinking.
Yeah. I think even something like partner in crime, where it's far more obvious because they're saying it directly after each other.
Yeah.
It's like Jessie says, but because of my predicament, my peculiar situation, I'm a one-man operation, which isn't particularly complex. But then in contrast, Winnie saying, you need a partner in crime, someone to share in the view. Why see the world in all of its glories without a friend to tell your stories to? Like, even that, and Jesse is young, he's like 17.
Yes.
Technically, no, he is like 100 and something.
It's 104. 4.
Yeah,
what the
104.
reviews said.
Um,
Miles might be 112.
Something like that. But you do just have like a genuine, and it's not enough where it feels weird, but it is just like, you can tell, it's very obvious that they want to make it clear Winnie is a child.
Yeah.
And she's got this very hard question to answer. I think as well, another thing that really interests me, and it's a difference between the book and the musical, is in the musical, a key part of Winnie and who she is when we meet her in the musical is that her father is dead.
Yes.
He has kind of died.
Recently.
She's basically semi-recently because she thinks they're in mourning too long.
Yeah.
She's like, I want to go out and do stuff, but my mother is saying that we're still in mourning for my dead father.
Yeah. She wants to go to the carnival, and that's why she escapes.
Yeah. In the book, her father's alive. He's kicking.
Is he like featured in, or is he just kind of there?
Yeah, he is kind of there. I think the same way that Winnie's family isn't majorly in the musical. They have kind of a few scenes at the beginning. A scene with the constable and Hugo. A scene with the man in the yellow suit. And then they're kind of at the end.
Yeah.
It's kind of similar to that. Well, he's definitely mentioned throughout. But I think the change is important for that thing of what the message of the story is. Because the thing that is really emphasized in the book is that Winnie has never been around death before.
Yeah.
She's like a young girl. She has never been around death. She's always been kind of kept away from it if it has happened near her. Stuff like that. And so the first time she ever like sees someone die is when the man in the yellow suit is killed in front of her.
Oh yeah.
So the whole thing of like teaching her not to fear death has a purpose. Whereas in the musical, she has been around death. She understands death. She gets it.
She's even able to have that conversation with Miles where she goes, Miles, I don't have a father anymore because he died
anymore.
but I still love him, and it's almost able to provide some more comfort.
Yeah. Where they're semi-comforting each other.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's the thing. It's more Winnie is enticed by the idea of living forever than she's enticed by the idea of not dying, if that makes sense.
Well, because she does view death as this bad thing, this thing that stops living almost, because her mum and her grandmother has stopped basically like going out the house because they've just been stuck in mourning.
Yeah, I think as well, I guess it's kind of important that the songs Winnie has by herself are very like few and far between.
Yeah.
She has Good Girl Winnie Foster
and then
and kind of the reprise. She technically has the attic, which is also just a Good Girl Winnie Foster reprise.
It's just the Good Girl Winnie Foster motif, isn't it?
Night in a house that's clearly
haunted.
That's the price you pay. Getting what you wanted. And then you have Everlasting. So she is very much like being taught and teaching throughout the musical.
Yeah.
And I think even I'm gonna get up the lyrics to Everlasting so I can quote this properly.
Let me also point up the bio.
Just a great song.
Yeah, it's also like not a long song.
Yeah. I think as well, her when she's talking about living forever, it feels like the way she describes it feels so much worse than her choice of dying.
Yeah.
Like, literally, her thing, she goes, I can return to my mother like nothing has happened, live like an imposter for 6 long years, turn 17, then good girl Winnie Foster, drinks from the vial, and her past disappears. And that is her argument for living forever.
Yeah, it isn't what fun adventures am I going to have? It's almost a rebellion against her mother.
Yeah. And in contrast, and the thing is, she has definitely lost her rebellion against her mother having met the Tucks.
Yeah.
And realized that, like, these guys aren't allowed to be together as a family.
That's also
because
what's so sad about
people will get suspicious.
Yeah.
And also they have lost their own families in Martha's case. And then in contrast, when she's talking about the dying route, she says, or I'd put the Tucks behind me and pull up the anchor, ride the wheel plenty for all that it's worth. Turn 17, then 18, then 20, for a life is the greatest wonder on earth.
Oh, like that's such a profound line, but of course, like it still makes sense for an 11-year-old to say it rather than you can't have living without dying, so you can't call this living what we got.
Yeah. And I think it's just, even when you're listening to the song, it's pretty clear what her choice is going to be.
Yeah.
She's kind of grappling with it more out of, I guess, like, feeling the need to, than because she actually doesn't know what she's going to pick.
I think she's just more working through her emotions around mortality.
Yeah. There's the whole time she's singing it, she is walking home.
Yeah.
Like, with Hugo.
Hugo!
Great guy.
I've got Hugo's first case stuck in my head now.
Great songs. I don't know, I just think it's a really profound musical.
Yeah.
For what it is.
As one of the reviewers said, it's a kids' show. It's like, yes, it is marketed as a kids' show. However,
it's a lot more than that to me.
No, it like even on paper, and everyone who's worked on it is like, it is more than a kids' show.
Yeah.
It's just a great time.
Yeah.
I mean, and yes, we have just spent a lot of time talking about how it's deep and it raises a lot of question on mortality and what have you. It also has it does have some humorous moments.
Yeah, it's funny.
The entirety of the man, like the villain of this musical is a man in the yellow suit who they call the man in the yellow suit.
He's got a great song. Which, how do we double check I'm right in thinking this? Yeah, opens Act 2, Everything's Golden.
Yes. Great Act 2 opener.
Great Act 2 opener. I mean, you've got the story of the man in the yellow suit, great song. You've got, he doesn't sing it, but it's about him. You can't trust a man.
I love the whole dynamic between the constable and Hugo.
Biggest plot twist in the entire musical is at the very end when you find out Hugo is the constable's son.
About that.
It's like one throwaway line where he just like accidentally calls him like dad or something, and you're like, oh my god, that's his son. And then you get it more in the story of Winnie Foster, like the constable just hanging around with their family. Winnie married Hugo, by the way. Winnie and Hugo get married.
I really love that.
And we don't want to talk about Hugo's age.
Oh yeah.
Because we don't know what it is.
It's the thing, in that time he could literally be 14 years old.
He's played by, let me remember his name. I love his actor. It is Michael Warteller, isn't it?
Yeah.
I want to look up how old Michael Warteller is. Because they do have a like 11-year-old girl playing Winnie.
Yeah, although what they do to get around that is that they don't have Winnie and Hugo get together until they age up Winnie.
Well, not age up until she grows up.
You know what I mean.
How old is he? Well, he played Bob.
That makes sense.
Okay. But in 2017, there's no way that's real.
What?
Okay, in 2017, he was the original Mike TV in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory on Broadway.
Well, man needs to get some better, some musicals that run longer.
Yeah, that's crazy. He is just like on that cast recording. How old is he then? I don't know. But my assumption has always been he's younger than Jesse's physical age.
Yeah.
So he's probably close to, in my mind, he's closer to like 15.
Yeah, I think
So
he
it's
is.
slightly less weird.
Yeah.
Because he has only been alive 15 years, whereas Jesse has been alive 104.
Yeah. Jesse has seen the seven wonders of the world and has experienced stuff like none other.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you think like him and Miles ever just fight in wars just because they know they'll never die?
Yeah, probably.
Because the two of them do like almost dying, trying to make themselves die, and they just don't.
Oh yeah, like Miles is very heavily implied he does try to kill himself.
Like all the time.
Well, because they have in Story of the Tux, they have Jesse go, I survived a tree fall. He survived much worse.
Yeah.
Shut up, Jesse.
Yeah.
Heavily implied he tried to kill himself.
Yeah. I mean, it's like the Groundhog Day thing of it. Once you're stuck in a loop, like once you're stuck in one of those situations, at one point you're just gonna try it.
I don't think I have much more to say on the musical. I think it's really good.
Yeah.
But I think I do really struggle to put into words why I love it so much.
I mean, you were right in saying that there's like when we were talking about the reviews, you were like, there's not many musicals that like have the same subject matter as Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah.
Like, to my knowledge, it's not really a theme that's commonly explored.
Yeah.
Anyway, shall we move on? It would only be nominated for one Tony Award at the 2016 Tonys.
Distraught.
Yeah. What would you have nominated it for? Everything.
Everything.
Best musical, best lead actress,
best set, best score.
You would have, I think, would you genuinely put it above Hamilton for awards, for like Tonys?
I think this is going to sound so rude to you, but I think that's a stupid question to ask. Because, no, objectively, Hamilton is like the greatest musical of the 21st century. I'm not denying that. I genuinely think that's true.
Yeah.
And I think that's clear to see. But, like, if you're asking me, do you like Tuck Everlasting more than Hamilton? Yes.
If it was your version of the Tony Awards and it was not objective, it was just personal vibes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's still awards out. Like, I think the issue with it is that it's one winner. Because I think, like, Hamilton has an incredible set.
Yeah.
But I also love the Tuck Everlasting set.
Tuck Everlasting sets.
Like, Hamilton has... Like, the actors in Hamilton...
Yeah.
...are incredible. I'm not going to deny that they deserve, like, best leading, best supporting, all of that.
Yeah.
But I love the actors in Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah.
Like...
Yeah.
I feel like I've joked about it more with, like, the 2017 Tonys. Where I'm like, no, this should have won. Actually, this should have won.
I still think, like, yeah, for the 2017 Tonys, there's a lot more of a debate around it, and that's what makes it so much more fun, is that it is such an enduring debate, because all four of those, well, come December, I would have seen all four of the best musical nominees for that season.
Yeah. I think the thing is, like, with the Hamilton year, it's so hard because I think with something like Tuck Everlasting is any year you put it in, I think there is going to be something that does better at awards. I don't think Tuck was ever intended to be a kind of award show.
No, it was never going to sweep the Tony Awards.
Yeah, but I think my issue with the stuff like that is that because it didn't, and Hamilton did sweep so much, like, it was never, that's why it didn't survive, and that sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess that's my thing, is I'm being like, yes, I would give it all the Tony Awards if that meant it would stay open.
anything to keep Tuck running.
Because I genuinely think if Tuck had opened in like 2018,
Yes.
it would probably still be running today.
Or even like, think about something like Anastasia in 2017, which got okay reviews. It got a couple of Tony Award nominations, none in the big categories really, and went on to run for 2.5 years.
Yeah.
And
Like,
that
I think obviously like the pandemic is gonna fuck up anything's run.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say I fully believe Taco Blasting would still be open today if it had opened like a year later. But I do genuinely think if it had opened in 2017 or 2018,
I think it could have really easily fit into that 2018 season.
Yeah. I
If you
think it would have just kept running until the pandemic.
At least, yeah. I think it would have at least made it a year.
Yeah. Instead it made it like 20 performances.
That is criminal. I don't get why they just didn't give it a little bit more time to find an audience as well.
I know. I think it was purely because of Hamilton. Like, because while stuff in 2017, like 16 and 17, and the kind of immediate years afterwards, really benefited from Hamilton.
Yeah.
For, like, being able to ride its wave. Anything that opened the same year.
Yeah.
Was really overshadowed.
Yeah, there's this Tumblr post that I remember going around of being like the story it was like made in I've not seen this Tumblr post in maybe 6 years. Made in 2016, so got overshadowed too late to be overshadowed, no, too early to be overshadowed by Tuck Everlast, by Hamilton, too early to ride the wave of Hamilton fans, the story of Tuck Everlasting.
Like, it is genuinely just a case. I think this is a thing that I guess maybe it's because I'm in an echo chamber of it, of me and the other 5 Tuck Everlasting fans. But it is a pretty general consensus that Tuck Everlasting closed due to bad luck and kind of nothing else.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely believe if you put on a performance of it now, it could run for years.
I would be willing to bet money that it could run for at least a year.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about it when you were talking about the overshadowment of Hamilton in 2016. The only other musical that went on to make money from the 2016 Tony season that was like high profile was Waitress, and that had the Sarah Bareilles connection to run off of.
Yeah.
Everything else really, really struggled because Hamilton was this Goliath that kind of sucked all the air and all the money out of the room.
Yeah.
I know why they didn't postpone it, because they'd already postponed it once. But they really should have. And also, like, a phenomena like Hamilton is not something you can predict.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
I think as well, like...
Yeah.
I guess, yeah, you're thinking, like, the only other musicals that have kind of had any lasting impact is like School of Rock and Waitress.
Yeah, and School of Rock is notable as a memorable IP with Andrew Lloyd Webber's name attached to it, which is gonna make some people interested. And then Waitress.
Yeah. I guess as well you had some good revivals that year.
Yeah, you had The Colour Purple, you have She Loves Me, you had my favourite Spring Awakening revival.
And there was Fiddler.
But the new musicals you had Shuffle Along, you had, oh my god, Bright Star.
Yeah.
You had properties like that didn't do too well. Let me triple check.
Everything that was eligible to be nominated for original musicals was Allegiance, Amazing Grace, American Psycho, Bright Star, Disaster, Hamilton, On Your Feet, School of Rock, Shuffle Along, Tuck Everlasting, and Waitress. I'm going to ignore the plays for now. Everything eligible for revival on musicals was The Colour Purple, Dames at Sea, Fiddler on the Roof, She Loves Me, and Spring Awakening.
Yeah. The more and more I look at that list, the more and more I go, oh my gosh, I'm counting School of Rock because it went on to have a semi-successful life. It went on to have a successful life by all purposes. There's 3 musicals from that list in an age where normally you look at more of them and are able to talk about more, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's just they all got overshadowed by Hamilton.
Yeah.
And so, like, that's why I don't think it's a. That's why I do genuinely believe the thing of I do think Chuck Everlasting could survive now.
Mm.
Like, if you put it on again, I do think it could run.
Yeah.
It's only because of Hamilton that it closed. And that's not like a slight against Hamilton.
No.
It is just, unfortunately, Hamilton was so good and so popular that nothing else could survive.
Yeah. Like Hamilton. Yeah. Anyway, Variety would say about the closing, struggling at the box office and essentially shut out of the nominations at the Tony Awards, Broadway musical Tug Everlasting has proven fleeting, with producers announcing the show will close at the end of the month. Since weekly grosses at Tuck never topped 350,000, early closing likely represents that a near total loss of the production's capitalization cost. But producers and investors can look to recoup some of it in subsequent regional productions where the show might catch on to the family market. I can't help but wonder whether or not you guys just. I'm in two minds about this. Did they not give enough? Because also a show like Tech Everlasting, which is marketed towards families, surely your biggest time is going to be over the summer when tourists are in town.
Yeah, and it never got to run during that time.
No. The New York Times would publish a piece on like why shows are flopping on Broadway. It's quite interesting actually. They would say why they did like a why it fails section. They did like an about section and why it fails. Why it failed. Without big stars, it had low advance sales. Some argued that its leafy logo was unhelpful. The show's a bit of a fairy tale, often hard to exclude. Adults perceived it as a show for children. Family shows without Disney impricatur are hard to sell. Talk was sweet and lovely, but those are not adjectives needed this season to be heard above the din. That's another thing. If you look at what was doing well on Broadway, was shows that were being described as like quite necessary and urgent and all of these other adjectives that are just not Tuck Everlasting. Yeah. I don't know. It obviously makes me quite upset because it's a good show.
Yeah.
And it more people should know it. I fully believe that. Do you have any lasting words?
I love Tuck Everlasting.
Yeah.
I need it to come back immediately. I need to see a live production of it. I love this show.
If anyone would like to reach out to Nell, who is looking to produce it, she could probably help you with that.
Yeah.
If it meant she got.
Oh, that was my thing. The leafy logo. We're gonna have ones for each season. Like I've seen them. They were gonna have ones for each season.
I think I've seen like the autumn one because it's brown.
Yeah.
It's like a golden brown.
Yeah.
Oh no, I have seen the winter one.
It's just like
ice.
white and blue.
Yeah. That's so fun. Anywho,
you've been not letting it run long enough so I can see them all.
Fuck you, man. I had an idea about what I might get you for your 21st birthday.
What?
Tuck Everlasting playbill.
Please.
See if I can find one on eBay. That's not hideously expensive.
Please.
Anywho, got anything else? Any closing thoughts other than bring it back, let it run?
Not really.
I'll give you if anyone wants my input, I'll give a $5 to it.
Yeah.
I do expect that back. Next week.
Mm-hmm.
How do I explain what we're planning on doing next week?
It will be 1 year of us doing this.
Yes, believe it or not, 1 whole year of us imposing our deep opinions on you guys.
Ugh.
And because of that, we are going to be recapping every single show we've done since. However, we're only gonna have like what, 30 seconds
Yeah, to recap as much as possible.
And we are gonna be drinking.
Yeah. If we
So,
say something mean about the show, we have to drink.
or if we, if we go over the allotted time,
Yeah.
we have to drink. We're not gonna do it in order, I don't think. We're gonna spin a wheel, right?
Yeah. Because otherwise, it's just going to be too easy to predict when we're drinking.
Yeah. And also, like, there are some shows I could talk about really, like, I could go through it and almost prep, like, what I would say about each of them in a row, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Whereas if there's just one in front of you that you've just got to talk about quickly, it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, come back for that next week. It'll be a fun time. It'll be a good time. Nell will do one line reading from her story. It will obviously
Yep.
one name will be changed.
One name will be redacted.
Taylor Allison Swift and Lana Del Rey / Elizabeth Woolridge Grant will be there. Yeah, fun times.
Fun
See
times.
you guys next week. Bye bye.
See ya. Bye.